Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
Really, the journey of the training was, it brought me back to my competitive days, right? We had a goal. We were going to run 100 miles. So in my mind, you got to prepare. We weren't going to stop until we died, right? That was, I hate to say that, but until somebody physically pulled us off that thing. Campus is buzzing, it's amazing. You can't drive. On campus, 50,000 students are walking around. Camp Randall is on fire Saturday, with 85,000 people for football games. I believe wrestle-offs are every day, right? I evaluate the guys every day. I don't like just, coming in and if you can beat that guy one time that you wrestled for 5 years or 4 years and that you're the starter, right? I evaluate it every single day. That is why I finished the Badger 100. Right? So I can go back and tell these guys about mental toughness. It's the kids, first of all, right? I see what the kids do. They deserve every ounce of energy that I've got. Things you can control, all right? Your hustle, your effort, your attitude, your enthusiasm. You control those things. I preach that, I live what I preach. They call it LSD. They go, I hit the LSD today. If you fail a test, I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm on your team. How can I help you? This is Coach Bono, and you're listening to Airey Bros Radio.
Coach, it's an honor and a pleasure to talk with you this evening. You are our first Big Ten coach, so we're honored to have you to talk about all things Big Ten wrestling. But before we get into that, I am an ultramarathoner, and so I would like to get into your 100-mile experience at the Badger 100. First and foremost, what was your inspiration and motivation to do a 100-mile race?
Well, we've got a buddy. He's a legend in the ultra world, Pete Ripmaster. And we met him through quarantine, and he set this Facebook page up where we were running, a 5K a day in May and raising money for Owl Research. And so we hooked up with him. And we got tight, and he basically is doing a 100-mile race in every state. And he's raising money again for Owl Research. And, we said, hey, when you come to Madison or when you come to Wisconsin, we'll run, we'll run 10 miles with you. We'll hang out with you. And then as things got, later in the process, we got closer and closer to this guy. And finally, we were down at the Olympic trials this year. Coach Reeder looked at me and said, dude, what are we doing? Let's just do the whole race. And I was like, whatever. When we get back home, we'll talk about it. I had no intentions of doing the whole race. And we got home, and I said, all right, I'll do it. And John said, all right, I'll do it. And we never signed up. Then the next week would go on, and there was like 35 people signed up. And he's like, dude, only 50 people can enter this thing, so we better sign up. I'm like, all right, whatever. Next week went by. Finally, he's like, all right, there's 47 people. Are we in or are we out? And I said, let's sign up. We both got on our computers. We signed up. We did it. And little did we know there was 150 people signed up for it. 50 wasn't the number. So I don't know if we had a motive, but that was it, to support our buddy Pete and get that thing done.
Okay. What was the key takeaway from doing such an event, both through the journey of the training for it, but then also the actual journey of the event itself?
Okay. I'll tell you, man, we could do a 12-hour podcast on that stuff alone, but really the journey of the training was, it brought me back to my competitive days, right? We had a goal. We were going to run 100 miles. So in my mind, you got to prepare, you know what I mean? And we thought we knew how to prepare. We were just logging a ton of miles weekly, and it was great, right? We didn't know, we thought we were doing the right things. And it was figuring out, when you go on the road to do a 3-day camp, You got to run 30 miles in 3 days. How do you get it in while you're doing a camp? You go on a recruiting trip and, you're flying. You only have 6 hours of the day to sleep or run. You got to go get your 3-hour run in, sleep for 3 hours. So you had to figure out how to stay in training. And that was awesome to me because it just brought me back into I had a goal and, physically, and we had to do it. Now in the race, there was so much that we took out of it, but the shared suffering with someone you love, was awesome, and then the selfish stuff was just seeing your body shut down and, figuring it out along the way. How do you get through this thing? Your body doesn't want to do it, but your mind is still there. You're still healthy. You're still, you got all your wits about yourself. How are you going to get across that finish line? Someone told me to start right here, and then someone told me to finish, 100 miles later. And that's all I had on my mind. So, your mind will do anything you tell it to do. Your mind will make your body do whatever it wants to do.
Absolutely. Did you learn anything new about yourself?
I don't know if I learned. I tell you what, I'm already an emotional guy. You know what I mean? So I'll tell you, I laughed during that thing. I cried, I prayed, I sang, I danced, right? I don't know if I learned too much about me, because I always thought I was a really mentally tough guy, right? Like I said, you do something here. We weren't going to stop until we died, right? That was, I hate to say that, but until somebody physically pulled us off that thing, we weren't going to stop. So I knew that, right? That's why I knew I could do it, was I just wasn't going to stop unless I was dying. And so that, I learned that there's a lot of emotions inside of me, man, and it's okay to show them.
Absolutely.
And talking about being ultra competitive and having something to kind of stoke your fire to train for, how important for you as a person is that to have something to train for and to kind of keep you focused? And do you find that you do your best work when you're training for things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't been competitive and I don't know how long, right? In 10 years, 11 years was my last competitive match, I think. I don't know. But the coaching world, I'm competitive every day. We're recruiting against people, we're training kids. But when it came, it was very nice for me in that race to be able to shut everything off. And I was told what to do. I was outside of my comfort zone. I was the athlete. Right. I had people telling me, and I'm not answering your question very good here, but it wasn't me telling people what to do. Right. I've always been the leader. I've always been the coach. For me, it was awesome being, where do we go? How do we start? Where do we get our food? Right. Who's going to help me tape this blister? Someone was taking, and so that was really neat for me. And I really enjoyed that, because I was the athlete again, or I was the guy, being coached. And I respond really well to, being told what it takes to go do something.
Yeah, Jimmy is my crew chief, so he's the guy that is telling me what to eat, when to drink, and then telling the other people on the crew and the pacers where they need to be and that sort of stuff. That's
the most important guy in the race right there, and so that's another thing. I have a 21-year-old daughter. Who said, I'm gonna be with you the whole race. Whatever, you're gonna go home at some point. You know what I mean? You're gonna drive. You're not gonna be all 32 hours, man. That kid was with me. She ran 20 some miles with us. She tracked us, on GPS, on our phones. I don't know what she was doing, but every time we came in there, and we had a plan, right? Hey, at this mile marker, we need a protein drink and a peanut butter sandwich. It was ready for us. We were waiting on, hey, I need a clean bottle of water and some, Gatorade chews. And she got us through that thing, man. 32 hours. She stayed with us. She, changed our socks. You know how that goes. And, we couldn't have done it without our families. Our families paced us through 10 miles. And it was, it was just straight amazing. It was like I've been telling everybody, it's the best thing I've ever done athletically in my life.
Yeah, and I think the plus for it, Coach, is you have such an amazing experience. The competitors who do ultra marathons, but also the crew has this amazing experience too, because you're going through the ups and the downs with the person, and you're riding that roller coaster. You might not be running all those miles, but you're up and making sure they're moving. So it's like a what do you call it? Shared suffering, right? And that's what kind of builds the camaraderie.
Dude, you hit the nail right on the head. My buddy Pete said, you're going to see how great it is to finish this race. And then you're going to see your family and your crew crying with you at the finish line. Okay. Yeah. I was like, whatever, crying. Dude, I was crying at mile 90, knowing I was going to finish. You know what I mean? I cried when I saw my wife at 8:30 in the morning, knowing we only had 15 miles left. You know what I mean? We saw them at mile 40. I cried again. so it was, and then we cross the line and my daughters are crying, my wife's crying. And I'm like, oh, it was absolutely amazing. I can't even, I wish I could experience something like that every day of my life. That's how great it was.
Yeah. With the emotional roller coaster that can be 100-mile race, it's almost like, you in a certain way, you're living a lifetime in that 32 hours with all the different emotions that you go through, where 1 mile you're laughing and telling jokes, and then literally a mile down the road you're in tears and your feet hurt, or all you want is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Dude, that is the truth. I mean, and John and I talk about it all the time. That's why it was great to be with each other. And you know how hard it is to stay with one person that whole 100 miles, and we stayed together the whole 100 miles, and we cried together. He was crying, I was laughing. What are you crying for now? I don't know why I'm crying. You know what I mean? It was things like that. And it was great. I can't even fathom. I can't even tell you how great it is. And it was, I enjoyed it thoroughly. And then I enjoyed the pain afterward, right? Like, I had a party planned after it, right? I'm like, hey, we're going to smoke some ribs. We're going to have people over to the house. It's going to be a great thing. That didn't happen. We had to get carried to the cars. We were on crutches for 2 days. I didn't know any better. I'm like, we're going to finish this thing. We're going to have a party. We're going to eat well. And I was like, there's going to be no party today, guys. I don't know what I'm going to recover.
Yeah. Did you get a belt buckle?
Got a nice belt buckle. And my wife made this huge shadow box. It's hanging in my office. I got my bibs, my belt buckle, a little armband they gave us, pictures of all of us in the event. I'm telling you, man, it's one of my most prized possessions. It's absolutely one of the, I tell you, it's the best thing. That belt buckle is one of the best things I got, to represent what we had to go through to get that thing done.
You got to do another one?
I would, absolutely. And I would love to do it with someone that's never done it before, because I'd love to go through those emotions with them. I'm still hurting though. I got some, we're how many months afterward, and, I got some lingering injuries still, but it's nothing that, it was things that hurt me before the race that hurt me a little worse now. So it's not like we couldn't get through it again,
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your experience. I finished the Leadville 100 3 times, so I can.
No way, dude. I just watched a documentary on Nick A.B.R.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And that's you're an animal, man. You're an animal. That one's way harder than what I did. Ours was straight and flat, and that would be something. My thing is this: I don't have the time to put into the training. You know what I mean? Man, these are 6 to 8 hour training runs, with what we're doing and how competitive we want to be and how we want to try to win. We were getting up at midnight to train for 6 hours. You know what I mean? And that really wore on us. But if I had the time, or if I was a little younger, man, I'd be training for the Leadville 100. That looks awesome. And then talking to my buddy Pete, what's the race out west where you finish around the track?
Western States.
That one sounds like awesome. Another great one I'd love to do. So who knows, man? If I get the time to train and try to qualify, or however you get in that Leadville, that looks like an awesome one to do. But you're an animal. When you tell me that thing 3 times, man, I know the cutoff is like 30 hours too, right?
Yeah, I was first year I was 7th, second year I was 14th, and then my last one I was 16th, but it was my second fastest time.
Dang. Did you do them back-to-back years, or did you?
I did 14 and then 17 and 18.
You're an animal, brother. Are you still doing them?
Yeah, I haven't signed up for anything, but yeah, I'm not like retired or anything like that. I'm just looking for the right time, the right opportunity, and the right race that stokes my bliss.
Next year, the Badger 100, we're going to be, no matter what, we're going to run an aid station. The University of Wisconsin wrestling team is running an aid station because, as you know, they're so important, and how they get everybody fired up. And we'll have some of our, whether we run it, run it again or not, we'll be there supporting it. So if you get a wild hair, you come out and hang out with us. We'll pace you. We'll run with you. We'll have an aid station for you, and there'll be I've had about 50 people reach out to me that say they want to do it, whether we do it or not out here. So if you get the urge to start training again, it's like the first weekend in August would be awesome to have you out.
All right. I'll write down that date. I'll check my calendar.
I think the thing that's so awesome about the ultra community is the community itself. Cause, we've watched you for decades, right? Wrestling. And we were fans of Pat Miletich, and we met Pat Miletich because of ultra running. So it's just cool to bridge this gap because of ultra running and to see guys in wrestling and combat sports getting into it. And cause it's like a, like personal betterment when you try to do things like this. You're going to improve. The people around you are going to improve, who help you with it. And the fact that there's kind of no really egos, because we all know in 100 miles there's a lot that can happen. Some of the best don't finish 100-mile races on certain days.
Right. And you talk about that community. When we started the marathon, we were sizing people up. We were like, all right, we're going to smack that guy. We're going to step on that guy's throat. There's no way that guy's going to beat us. Right. And then we started running, and all these people are like, good job, keep going. You can do this. You guys are awesome. And we're like, and then by mile 20, we're like, hey, you guys are awesome. Keep going. They're passing us. And it got to be like that. And we didn't even know these people, and they were asking if we need something, aid stations. Again, they're changing your socks and shoes. And so the ultra community, man, I'm a huge fan. There are some great people. And like I said, this to me was a life-changing event for me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's get into some wrestling.
All right.
Take it away, Jim.
So Coach, to kind of start off, last year's wrestling season was probably the weirdest NCAA season that I can remember, right? There's a lot of, some teams weren't wrestling, Ivy League schools weren't wrestling. There was limited capacity. It was a weird season. How does it feel with this season starting? Do you feel like you're back to normal? Is campus kind of a little bit more busier? Does it feel like things are back to pre-2020 or close to it?
Yeah, it feels normal. Campus is buzzing. It's amazing. You can't drive, on campus. 50,000 students are walking around. Camp Randall is on fire Saturday, with 85,000 people for football games. Tailgates are going on. We're practicing every day. We weren't even in our facility till January 1 last year, right? And our first school was January 10th. We were getting COVID tested every single day before we could go into that wrestling room. 15-minute test. You were positive. You couldn't go anywhere till you were negative again. So it's normal, man. It's we're loving life. We're training hard. It's relieving. You know what I mean? That we can give these kids the best student athlete experience that they signed up for right now.
And as far as like last year, because I know a lot of guys got that extra eligibility and stuff, how did that help the team out? Did you have a lot of guys take that extra year? What is the team looking like compared to last year?
Well, we only had one guy eligible for it. We have a very young team. So we only have one guy. He did take it. It's our 184-pounder, Chris Weiler. He's a round of 12 guy, transferred from Lehigh a couple of years ago. And so that's, he's there. Our team looks great. We've got a lot of young kids and a lot of young kids that can wrestle. There are a lot of high, have very, very great high school accolades. They've transferred over and they're ready to go. We're excited about the season. I think we're going to be able to surprise some people. And we're just excited, man. We can't wait to get out there November 1 against Buffalo as our first home duel, first duel of the year. And we're just so excited.
So with that first duel being November 1st, have you guys already completed your wrestle-offs?
Well, we did, but we didn't, right? I'm a little different like that. I believe wrestle-offs are every day, right? I evaluate the guys every day. I don't like just, coming in and if you can beat that guy one time that you've wrestled for 5 years or 4 years and that you're the starter, right? I evaluate it every single day, and you make that decision on, academics and work ethic. And usually when you do have a good, solid, hardcore wrestle-off, both kids are really good kids anyway. So you've really got to pay attention to practice. And then like for us, we've got 2 tournaments that we can evaluate the kids in the Cougar Clash and Midlands, where we'll put them both, we got 1 or 2 weight classes that we'll throw kids in there, and that'll be another evaluator. You might be the starter for the first duel, but if you're not performing in the country, even though you're winning the matches in the wrestling room, we'll put that other guy in there and see if he can perform.
How much do you see that where there might be a guy head to head, he can game a little bit better, but when they wrestle separately, whether it be in an open tournament or, in duels, the other guy is doing better, whether he works hard or is a smarter wrestler. Do you think that occurs more so than not?
So I do see it some, but usually when you see it, the matches that you see in the wrestling room are like 3-2 or 2-1, right? And to me, winning 3-2 or 2-1 is like a tie score. You know, you're wrestling the guy every single day in practice, and you only beat him 2-1, right? That's almost like a tie score to me. So that's why I don't really like the wrestle-off, to determine the guy for the year. I don't mind doing it to determine and put him out there for the first duel, right? But then you got to perform and, and make sure you can hold down beating guys in the country. It does the University of Wisconsin no good to put a guy out there that can't beat anybody in the Big Ten, and keep that guy that can win in the Big Ten and in the country in your wrestling room.
And talk about that grind that is the Big Ten schedule. Is that something that even when you're recruiting, you're taking into consideration where you may have a stud kid, but you might not think he might be suited for the Big Ten schedule or that Big Ten style of wrestling?
Usually when you're talking to kids early, right, they tell you, I want to be in the Big Ten. Here's my 6 schools I'm looking at, and it's all Big Ten. You know what I mean? But you do let them know, hey, it's not, you're going to be wrestling the national tournament, basically the last 8 weeks of the season, January through March. Everybody in the Big Ten is tough. And, you can look at that one of two ways. I don't want to do that because I'm going to lose a little bit. My confidence is, my God. Or you can look at it like, hey, I'm going to be so prepared for that national tournament wrestling in the Big Ten that it's, I want to be there. And I tell them my story. The year I won the NCAA championship, everyone I wrestled in the nationals, in the nationals, I had wrestled during the year. And for me, that was great because I had film on them. I knew I could, I wrestled them. I knew the feel. I had the film of me versus them. So I understood what I was against every single round, right? You don't want to get a guy that you don't know too much about in the semifinals of the national tournament. And, he's got a headlock that you don't know about, right? And you get caught and then you lose a match. So we're familiar with people. We know how to scout for them. We know how to game plan for them. And then we can go out there and attack them because we're wrestling them week in and week out in the Big Ten.
And talking about wrestling the same competition week in and week out, right? There becomes mental blocks, right? If a guy beats you 3 times, it's kind of hard to get over that hump. And especially late in the season when you're starting in November and the season goes to March, there's a lot of mental toughness that's going to get you through that NCAA tournament. Is that something that you guys focus on, and especially like getting them to the end of the season and almost starting fresh again at the NCAA tournament or the Big Ten?
That is why I finished the Badger 100, right? So I can go back and tell these guys about mental toughness. You know what I mean? You can do anything, man. You lost to a guy 3 times. Right? You can beat them. It doesn't matter. It's a new day. It's a new scenario. It's a new, you can do it. Right. And I'm proof. I don't like to use myself, but that trail whooped my butt. I could have quit at mile 75 when I fell down and got all scraped up and it was dark and my headlamp broke and I couldn't move my legs. Right. When you got beat 3 times by the guy from Penn State, it doesn't matter. It's the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament. You can do, if you truly believe you can do it and you put the work in, you can go out there and win. So that mental block, you got to be able to switch it around and do it.
And kind of adding off that, Coach, you always seem fired up. You always seem like you have that PMA. How do you stay so motivated and positive?
Well, I've got, it's the kids, first of all, right? I see what the kids do. They deserve every ounce of energy that I've got because I ask a lot of them. So I'm going to give them everything I've got day in and day out, and it's my responsibility, as a coach to stay healthy. So I have some energy to stay fired up, to help them through things. So I do get fired up, right? That's just, hey, first of all, I'm Italian. It's in my blood, but no, it's the kids get fired up. The kids, I want them to understand that, hey, you're going into a fight. I'm going with you. And I'm right behind you, and anything you need, I'm there. So let's go out there and our model, right? The things you can control are your hustle, your effort, your attitude, your enthusiasm. You control those things. I preach that. I live what I preach, and I think my kids see that day in and day out, and that's very, very important to me.
Go back to the Badger 100. You touched on something there when you're talking about, maybe having a kid who has lost to the same guy from, say, Iowa 3 times heading into the NCAA tournament, and now he's got him in say the semifinals. And you talk about, the badge of 100, and that's using that you can do anything, put your mind to it. Was there ever a moment in that 100 miles where the going really got tough and it was the team and having to go back and, did you ever have that thought of like, I can't go back and have to tell this story of why I didn't finish? Because I know part of the time in my head when I'm on that mental hamster wheel at mile 75 or whatever, it's like, you just keep soldiering on, because it's easier to explain like a bad race than to explain to your friends or family or everyone at the coffee shop as to why you dropped out.
1,000% brought up the team in that race. I think, like Reeder was going to the bathroom and he was falling asleep standing up. Right. And I grabbed, grabbed him. He was falling down and then, then he went into a full body cramp in one of them. And he's like, dude, I'm hurting. And I looked at him. I'm like, are we going to quit? Right. What are we going to tell the team? You know what I mean? What are we going to tell the team? And he's like, no, and we were never close to quitting. Right. But we said that a couple of times, like, and then we would get 10 miles down the road, you'd catch that second wind. And he's like, could you imagine if we tell the team we quit, as we were trudging along? But yes, we brought that up many, many, many times that, we got a lot of eyes on us, and the one thing that him and I are not are quitters in anything, life or what. And, if we're physically able to finish, we are going to crawl, scratch, and do what we do, Army crawl, whatever we had to do to get across that line, we were going to do.
Yeah. Even if it's like rec wrestling where you're belly crawling.
Yeah. A funny story John tells is he was really, really bad at the end of the race, and wife drove him home, got out of the car, and he couldn't walk, right? His wife couldn't carry 185 pounds of dead weight. So he literally army crawled through his garage into his kitchen, and she went and got a bed sheet, put him on it, and pulled him across the floor. And he got into a recliner chair and he sat there. I mean, he was going to the bathroom in a cup. He didn't move for about 36 hours.
Did you learn?
How's he doing now?
Yeah.
He's doing great. You know what I mean? I mean, we struggled for a long time, months. You know what I mean? With, hips hurt us, my knees were really swollen, ankle problem, but we recovered. He's doing great. He wrestles every single day. He's 99.9% all healed up.
Are you running again, Coach?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, I've got a high for me, man. It's I run down by the lake every morning. The sunrise comes up. I stop, I take it in. I run anywhere from 6 to 12 miles, 5 days a week. And you got to remember this, I had never run more than 10 miles in my life. And now this is a daily thing. I found a new, what I mean? People, I don't know. I found a new thing that it suits me. I'm by myself. It's hard. I enjoy it. It's you know what I mean? It's amazing.
Get in and mix it up in the room. Has it helped your gas tank?
Yeah, I you know what, dude, I've never had a problem with my lungs ever. Right. For me, it's always about my, something getting my arms are tired, my legs are tired. I haven't wrestled in a while. I don't, not for any reason at all, just because I've been really running the workouts a lot more. And, John's been wrestling a lot, and, the race did, we got done the race, August 1st, and I probably couldn't have wrestled till, the middle of September. That's how hurt I was, good 6 weeks. I probably couldn't have wrestled, but I'm back at it now. I roll around with the guys a little bit, but, nothing too hardcore in the last, 3 months.
And talking about not wrestling as much because you're worrying about the guys and structure and practice, how does that look? How do you schedule practices? Are you going kind of programming month by month, week by week, day by day? Like, do you have stuff written out, or are you kind of going on how the guys are feeling and performing at that current?
So a little bit of everything, right? I've got our long range plan, and then I've got our short range plan. Then I've got our daily plan. So right now we're week by week because we're about to start competing. Right. But you also have to be day by day. I like to go 3 days on, 1 day off, because that's what the national tournament does. And one of those days is straight individual workouts. So we basically work on their skill, each individual skill, to try to make sure we're developing those guys to get better technically. Then sandwiched around that are 2 really tough days, of long practices and, trying to take them to deep water and making sure they're comfortable, in that long practice. Then that third day or that fourth day is completely off, rest and recovery. Then we come back on the next day, and they'll be running and lifting 3 days a week in there too. But then the next day will be just a straight, warm up on your own, learn how to get your body loose, a good hard drill. And then we'll do matches that day, whether it ranges from 2 to 5 matches, depending on where we are in the process. And then that that 6th day is usually a combination of all, what we've seen going on. Is it another individual day? Do we need a tough day? Depending where we are in the season. Then that 7th day, I like to give them off again to recover and get ready. Now the season's about to kick in. We wrestle on Friday night, right? So we got to give them a day off that week. We've got to taper them down. So all that changes here in the next 2 weeks when we get ready for competition.
And on that off day, are you encouraging a full day of rest, maybe hit the sauna or some ice baths, or are you hitting like some active recovery, maybe some yoga?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not allowed to get in the sauna anymore once school started, the guys can't get in the sauna, but we've got awesome here at Wisconsin. They put a lot of money into recovery. So we've got some awesome recovery things with your, whether they're nap pods, whether they're float tanks, whether they're hot, cold, a hot plunge, cold plunge. But, it's kind of funny. We've been getting these guys in the preseason that I've been telling them long, slow runs, trim the body fat off, run 10-minute miles for 12 miles. Let's get that long. So I tell these guys, hey, your off day, make sure you're doing this. And a kid will send me a picture of an 8-mile. They call it LSD, long. They go, I hit the LSD today for their, so it's the race is rubbed off on them. Their bodies look great, but yeah, we do. Their off days is an off day is active recovery, long walks, long jogs, and then ice bath and hot tubs.
And when you mentioned the float tanks, are you talking sensory deprivation tanks?
What is that? These are saltwater float tanks. They can get in. Is that what you're talking? Is that what that means? Yes.
Yeah, and they're like dark, relaxing. Shut the door. That's awesome.
Claustrophobic. I'm out. I'm not doing that stuff. Water, dark, and enclosed. I'm in big trouble.
But you spent some time in Florida, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't mind the water, open water, right? I love the open water. I love swimming. I love the ocean. I used to be a lifeguard, but you close a door and it's dark and I'm in some water. This guy's going to panic a little bit.
And the university provides those?
Yeah, they have them. Absolutely.
Wow.
I bet the guys love that stuff because I know we have a float tank here that I go to, once a month at least that I'm a member to. And I love it. And you mentioned the facilities, right? And you've coached at some pretty epic places. What is it like having that Big Ten kind of push and have those facilities compared to the other colleges you've coached at?
Yeah, it's night and day. It's not, you know what I mean? You guys would be amazed at what these guys get in terms of resources. And you know what? They deserve it, right? For how hard they work. And they deserve it. Our recovery or our nutrition stations, there's 8 of them on campus. You could be all over campus and walk in and get your recovery smoothie or, pick up a peanut butter and jelly or, grab a protein shake or yogurt or cheese or beef jerky all over. It is the facilities and the resources that these guys get to try to be the best in the world are absolutely amazing. I've never seen them anywhere I've been. It's the best place I've ever been in terms of resources and facilities.
Yeah, I bet that's a massive recruiting tool to be able to walk through and see the amenities, for nutrition and strength and conditioning. And then also, the recovery aspects.
And they provide these guys 1 free meal a day. It's a huge, this year they're doing lunch. So from like 10 to 3, you go down there, and what's cool is you're eating with football players and basketball players. And 2 years later, you turn on the NFL and you're saying, hey, I had lunch with that guy. You know what I mean? Here at Wisconsin, they're pumping out pro football players and basketball players. So it's really, really cool that the whole department, the athletes eat in one spot. It's a great meal. Our guys love it because we practice at 8:30 in the morning and they're done by, 10:30. They go down there and they get their meal right away. They can recover and they're eating with it. It's an absolute amazing thing.
And is that all season you guys practice in the morning?
Yes. Yeah. We've changed it up. The guys love it. They're running lifts are in the afternoons, but they love practicing at 8:30 in the morning. Then they go to classes between 10 and 3. Then they get their run and lift in the afternoon. And it's, it's great. We get them when they're fresh, right? Sometimes those kids are so worn out, stressed out, really. They had to write a paper all day. They had 3 tests. It's, we get them at 3:00 and they're spent. They're mentally drained. So it's awesome getting them right when they get out of bed. They come over, right? They can have a nice, again, they can go to the nutrition station and get a smoothie and get breakfast and then roll right into practice at 8:30 and get ready to go for, and then practice is over. Then they go concentrate on their studies and go to class and get all the good stuff done.
Yeah. I'm, as a former Division I track and field cross country athlete, I would think having morning practices would be unbelievable. I'm a morning workout person myself, and it's like you have that sense of accomplishment that you got done, one of the hardest aspects of your day, depending on the day of the training, but then also to kind of have that off your conscious, to be able to go through the day with a clear head, to get your studies and your work and get the supplemental stuff done in the afternoon. I imagine that's pretty powerful for
we think alike. We think alike, you and I do. It's like me. I get up really early in the morning to get my workout in, because that is the hardest part of my day. You know what I mean? I go out there and grind and get after it, and right. And I don't want to try to do that at 5:00 at night, because you think about it all day, and then it gets to be like, well, maybe I won't do it. You know what I mean? It's hard at 5:00. I'm tired. I had a rough, day today. So you get up when your mind is clear. It's and get it done, and then you do feel a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Well, and I even think too, I don't know about you, Coach, but I know when I was competitive that I almost had like anxiety till I got that practice out of the way, because I was thinking about it all day. And I'm a college student now, and in my past life I went to college for wrestling, and that's all I focused on, but I didn't care about the academics. And now that I care about the academics, I couldn't see doing both at full capacity, because if you have a full workload of classes and a lot of stuff that you got to worry about before you get to practice, like you said, you're going to be shot by the time you get to practice and maybe only have 70%.
That's it too, man. And I got anxiety every day of my life, 24/7, so I'm with you. I feel it. And you're right. You're 100% right. These guys, they're professional athletes. You know what I mean? Their time management skills have to be great. And, they've got to be able to have clear minds when it comes to practice. And the hard part is when you have a bad practice, then you got to shut it off and you got to go focus on your calc class, or you can't let your bad practice affect your academic life. And, or you won't be wrestling,
Talking about that stress and anxiety day to day, the physical training is a huge part of it, but especially for individual sports or wrestling, there's a huge mental component, as there is with running and ultra sports and endurance sports. Has that always been a foundation of your coaching philosophy? Is that something you spend time with the athletes individually? Is that part of the daily practice mindset?
Yeah, so it's even great here, right, at Wisconsin. We've got mental health, as you know, right now is a very, very hot topic. And, there's a couple of aspects to mental health, right? You've got your mental health side of things that, you're looking at depression and anxiety, right? And things like that. Then you look at mental health when you're talking about competition anxiety and things. So I kind of separate the two. And we have here at the university great resources. We have sports psychs and everything that can help you if you're struggling in daily life with mental health issues. And then over here we have a mental mindset coach on campus that helps you with, hey, you talk to him, listen, I'm exhausted before I even get on the mat, because of my thoughts and my actions, and right. And so he goes through breathing techniques with you, or he'll help you with thoughts and how to get the bad thoughts out and how you control your thoughts. And when you combine those two resources together, I'm grateful the University of Wisconsin invests a ton of money in mental health for our student athletes, whether it's in the competition side of things or whether it's in your daily life where you're struggling, with mental health issues. So it is something we talk about all the time, because, you know, as a coach, you see a kid going down a bad path, they're not going to come out to you and say, I'm depressed, or, you know, I've been having some real bad thoughts. You've got to pull it out of them and put your arm around them and talk to them one-on-one and say, hey man, you've changed. Help me. Let me help you. And then they'll go into it and say, coach, I got some problems. Right. And you can take care of them and hook them up. But you do, on the other side of things, you can see them have great practices and kick everybody's butt. They get in a competition and they stand there not doing anything. Right. That tells you right there, listen, what are you thinking about? What's going on? Well, I can't shoot. I don't know why I can't get to someone's legs. I'm doing right. All right. Listen, go talk to this guy. And you know, they love it. Right. Because they're getting the same message from us in a different way from someone in a different profession. Right. And it triggers their minds in a little bit different way. And you know how it is when you hear something from somebody else, it could be the same message, but it could ring a little differently for you.
Yeah. And mentioning, you know, being able to kind of have that relationship with a kid where you can kind of pull it out of them or kind of see that, hey, there's something off here, or, hey, you need to go talk to someone. How important, like, I would say developing those relationships and being able to read those kids is just as important as teaching technique on the mat.
Well, I think that's what a good coach does, right? If you know your athletes and you know what makes them tick, you can help them reach their goals. If you don't know if you don't know what makes them tick, right there, then you know, you might not get the best out of them. But you're 100% correct. You got, relationships are key. Right. You've got to have those relationships, and you can't just have a relationship in the wrestling room. And so it's inside the room. It's outside the room. It's bowling with them. It's playing a video game with them. It's doing whatever it takes to establish a relationship of trust, and everything. And I know that, you know, you ask any of our guys, our big thing for our guys is, you know, our staff has your back. You fail a test, you break up with a girlfriend, right? You've got bad home life. You can't get a takedown in a match. We got you, right? We got you. Whatever you need, come to us. We are on your team. That's what we tell them. If you fail a test, I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm on your team. How can I help you? You know what I mean? Come to me. Let me help you. You've got some bad thoughts. I'm on your team. Remember that. Right. I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't believe you failed the test. You didn't go to class. What's wrong? It's going to be, all right, man, let's talk. How I'm on your team. Let's get some help. Let's do what we got to do. And then once they understand that, especially the young kids, right, you got them for life. They'll trust you for life.
Talk about the kids of the team. You know, we've had a lot of coaches from some smaller programs in Division I and Division II. We're talking about recruiting. You know, they're trying to put a net over their general vicinity in their region. With the Big Ten school, you know, you have the opportunity to spread your wings and look at all the hot spots, you know, because you have that pull. Is there a number or balance you're trying to have between Wisconsin athletes versus across the board from different parts of the country?
Well, we want every Wisconsin kid, right? That's how you build a fan base. That's how you build a program. But in the same breath, I want to win a national championship. So we don't have a number. You know, I think we have 30 guys on the roster, and I think 16 of them are from Wisconsin. Right. So, that's over half. Is that a good number? I don't know. Right. Is it a bad number? I don't know. But we go wherever. Right. Wisconsin's starting to produce some pretty good kids. So we want to make sure we lock the borders and we get the best kids. But you're right. We'll go anywhere it takes to get the kid that's our best fit, to try to win a national championship.
And I think I just saw yesterday, the day before, I don't know if it was a freshman or a signee, but you have a kid from Jersey on the squad, right?
We have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Zargo.
I know Joe. He's a Rhino guy. He's a good freestyle guy. He's a Mike Mal guy.
Joe Zargo is going to be our guy, man. He made 141 pounds, and he'll be our guy going forward. He looks great. He's doing a great job for us.
That's awesome, Coach, because I coached at the same wrestling club he came up at, and I remember him doing privates at 9 o'clock when he was a tyke with his little brother, and then to see him go to Bergen Catholic and have success in the freestyle scene, and now to see him D1. I love seeing that stuff. I love seeing kids when they're little, you know, grinding it out, and then, you know, a couple years down the line, you see them as grown-ass men wrestling Division I. That's awesome.
Better, and he's a better kid, and he's from a great family, and that's it's awesome. He's doing awesome here.
Coach, in terms of, I know you said before that, you go out, you run by the lake in the morning, and I know Wisconsin is known for the lakes. How do you like being in Wisconsin, and how is having, all the lakes? And I think like Wisconsin is the land of water parks. Like how is that to use as a recruiting tool? I know you guys have awesome facilities there and a great team as well.
Well, it's great because Madison and Wisconsin has so much to offer. You bring all these lakes into play, and guys like, I don't like to fish, I like to hunt. Okay, let me drive you 5 miles out here, and you're in the woods. You know what I mean? It is absolutely amazing because you go 5 miles this way, you can do something. Go 5 miles this way, you can do something. You go 5 miles this way, you can do something. In terms of the outdoor stuff, right? It's one of the. I mean, I don't know if this is said, but proven, but it's one of the best outdoor cities in America, even in the winter. Whether it's ice fishing or cross country skiing, or we got anything like that. It is amazing. So we've got it all for everybody. The lakes are a huge attraction, especially in the summer and the spring and summer. There's concerts, there's concerts on the lakes. There's so many restaurants. You eat and watch the sunset over here on this lake, or watch the sunrise on this lake. There's paddle boarding, there's swimming, triathlons are all through there. There's an Ironman that comes through there. It's an amazing place. The city for outdoor life. And then you throw in the university, and it's the greatest college sports town in America, and then you drive 5 miles this way, then you drive 35 miles north, and it's the water park capital of the world, like you said, so it's great. Drive an hour and 20 minutes south, you're in Chicago, so you name it. It's great place to live, great place to raise a family, great place to go to school.
How are you enjoying it compared to your last destination in South Dakota? Is it night and day?
Yeah, it's night and day, but I loved it there. I loved Brookings, South Dakota. The weather was miserable in Brookings, right? It was miserable. I come here, the winters here, it's like spring compared to Brookings. But I loved Brookings. Brookings was great. It was a small town. I really, really enjoyed it. But here there's so much to do, so much more to offer. It's night and day, and Madison is an amazing place to live.
You mentioned the winters, you mentioned ice fishing. You're a Florida guy. You went to Iowa State. How long did it take you to adapt to the weather? And do you consider yourself a Midwesterner at this point?
I'm still not adapted. I hate the cold. I hate it. Right now, today's one of the colder days we've had. It's 48 degrees, and I'm starting to get miserable because I'm like, oh, that's coming. It's the end of October, But no, it's the same thing, right? When you're in Florida, people are like, it's too hot, right? What do? You put flip-flops on, a tank top, or you stay inside with your air conditioning on, right? For me, it's the same thing. It gets cold. You throw a hat and a park on, and you go do your business, right? Business has to be done. You go about it, or you sit in your house with the heat on. You know what I mean? So, plus, it's great too. It gets cold here. It's wrestling season. So you get fired up, when the weather starts getting chilly, it's time to wrestle. And, most of your time is wrestling. You're inside. You don't really even experience the worst part of winter because you're so entrenched and you're in season, and your mind is so, narrow-minded, and you're focused on trying to win.
Yeah. We lived in Leadville for a year, and I've been in Colorado now for quite a few years. And, one of the things that we've learned is there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear.
Yeah. Right. Amen. That's great. I just say there's no such thing as cold weather, just weak people.
Coach, to your point about, the wrestling room's always warm. I had a buddy from California that went to University of Minnesota when J-Rob was the coach, and J-Rob's recruiting tool was it's always sunny in 98 in the wrestling room.
Right. It's true, but you know what I mean? You want the weather when you're recruiting kids, the weather doesn't come into play much, right? Because you look, how many really warm weather schools are out there? There's not too many. I mean, Arizona State's warm. You know what I mean? A couple of schools in the South are warm, but anywhere you go, there's going to be a winter somewhere. And, it is what it is, right? When you're recruiting, if the weather is the most important thing, you probably don't want them anyway.
In your preparation for your 100-mile race, keep bringing it back to this, but University of Wisconsin has a very successful cross country and track and field program as well. Had you had any conversations with Coach Byrne about your training or your preparation?
Zero. That was kind of,
Zero.
dude, we just started running. I felt like Forrest Gump. When we committed, we're like, what do we do now? And we're like, just run, Forrest. We had our plan, right? Our buddy was like, we're going to run. We started off with run 2 miles, walk 1, run 2, walk 1, right? And try to build up to see how far you can go and run at this pace. And that's a whole nother story, because he wanted us training at like 10-minute mile running and 15-minute mile walking, and right. And so we trained at like 9-minute mile running and 12-minute walking. So we were, of course, right. And we get out there, and what do we do for the first 10 miles? We're like a 7-minute pace, right? Like idiots,
This is easy.
Right. Yeah. It got easy, but that was kind of, but anyway, no, we were idiots. We didn't follow a training plan. Our goal was to log as many miles as we could weekly when we felt and then our big thing was nutrition. Yeah. Let's run 30 miles and see, how to replace our fluids and food, and see how our bodies are going to feel, and then be prepared for that. So we should have. Coach Byrne is the man too. I love the guy. He's amazing.
Yeah, he was at Iona when I was in college, so I got to experience him firsthand and got to run against the guys from Iona, being on the East Coast. So I've followed him for a long time, and yeah, just like yourself. I mean, Jimmy will tell you, we've had the Iowa Public Television VHS tape. So we see guys like yourself and Eric Aiken and
Aiken's my boy.
Yeah. One other thing too, I just saw today, we had an addition. Morgan State just added wrestling. What's it going to take to get wrestling at a university in Florida?
Man, I don't know. It would be awesome, though. It would be awesome. I don't know, right? I mean, all those schools, especially, you look at the Floridas and that do so well football wise. It's not a financial issue, The bottom line is you've got to be able to add a women's sport with it. Now that women's wrestling is getting really, really big and they're adding it, it's a no-brainer to add both sports at programs that don't have them. They can't use that Title IX thing. Now we can't add men's wrestling because we can't add a women's sport. So I just think we got to educate people. You know what I mean? It's women's wrestling is the fastest growing sport right now in America. And, I think that's our avenue is let's start, getting to these Southern schools. Let's try to start both programs in a place, and, it'll help with, Title IX issues as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Any talks of women's wrestling starting up with the Badgers anytime soon?
No, I mean, we have 3 girls in our RTC right now that are all pretty good. And so we'll keep, hammering across, USA Wrestling's always on our administration. And I know that they're in their ear and I'm in their ear. So, I have no idea where we are, compliance wise, but coming off of COVID, you know what I mean? We're, athletic departments lost a ton of money. I'm not sure how many schools are looking to add sports quite yet until we can, recoup some of those dollars and things like that. So who knows? We'd love to have a program, and we'll just see where it goes.
Right on.
And Coach, you had mentioned the RTC. How important is that to the program?
Very important. If you look at every school that's won a national championship, and I going back to when Gable was winning, they've had post-collegiate wrestlers training in their room. And that's what these RTCs are. So it's almost, man, you want to win a national title, you got to have some post-grads in there pushing your college kids. So it's very, very important, for us to have that RTC.
And Coach, was there anything that we haven't touched on about the Wisconsin wrestling program that you would like us to touch on?
Man, you guys are killing it. I love it. It's great. I'm just grateful you guys are having me on and get to promote our program, and, just fired up. So no, I appreciate everything you guys have done tonight.
Awesome. So Coach, we have some rapid fire questions, not necessarily rapid fire in answer, but, some generic questions that we ask all our fans. And when we have wrestling coaches on, we like to kind of add some wrestling stuff on. So my first one for you, as far as studying tape and watching wrestling, do you have a favorite match or a favorite wrestler that you like to watch? It can be through any time, era, or period of
No, I don't. When I go back, I do find myself watching a lot of Cale Sanderson wrestling, just for the fact that I coached him during all those matches. So I never really got to enjoy it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
worried about winning and losing and streaks and this and that and nationals and Olympics. And so I never got to enjoy how good he really was. So I do like to watch a lot of those older tapes, but I try to, I don't care who's wrestling, right? I try to watch a lot of wrestling because you see a ton of, you see, even guys that aren't very good. Sometimes you see some great takedowns or see some great technique that you'd like to be able to incorporate into your team. So I just like to watch a lot of wrestling anytime it's on somewhere, or when I get bored, I click on a move and try to follow, any kind of wrestling where, and obviously you're looking at some of the best. You're watching the world championships and you're watching the Olympics and you're watching, some of the best women in the sport, trying to see what makes them great. And you try to pick up a thing or two.
Coach, you had mentioned Kale, and that's how because I graduated high school in 05, so I was kind of paying attention to NCAA wrestling. At that time, you were already out of the competitive scene. How important was that to you as a young coach to just be around one of the best ever and to coach him in the learning curve and watching everything that went down when he was in college and you were coaching?
It was amazing, right? It was amazing to watch history, and it was amazing to see how he handled it. So it was, that's all I can really describe. It was amazing, and being around it, and it was a circus, and, and just trying to, he handled his emotions a different way. He played video games before matches and was calm and cool. You know what I mean? It was almost like you were talking to him like, dude, you got the national finals here and you're up in 2-8 matches. You're going for your 4th title and you're playing a Nintendo something. You know what I mean? And I'm ready. All right. And you let him go, so it was really cool.
Coach, is it stance in motion or stance and motion?
Stance and motion.
Okay.
Coach, what's your favorite, or what wrestling shoe are you rocking now in the room? And what's your favorite wrestling shoe of all time?
Oh man, I've got some kind of ASICs on right now. Listen, I am so far. Give me, you know what I mean? Whatever they put in my locker, I put on. But I'm not into the give me this, give me that. But my favorite one that I've ever wrestled in is, I don't know what it was called. It was a white and black ASIC with a zipper.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
So I don't know what they're called. I was never like, I'm amazed now of the shoe game with these kids. I was never a shoe guy. If I liked the shoe, I wore it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I had to have, I don't know the names. I couldn't probably name 5 shoes for you. Like whatever, Gable Supreme. You know what I mean? I couldn't name five wrestling shoes. I can give you colors and zippers and that kind of stuff, but I'm not a big shoe guy.
All right. That seems like a common consensus for most of the coaches that we've had on. They're not really paying attention to shoes so much as just give me what works and let's go. Let's scrap.
Yeah.
Coach, is it states or state?
Depends where I'm recruiting.
Jersey.
States.
All right. Let's go.
He knows his crowd.
Coach, do you have one piece of advice, whether it be about training or mindset, for a high school wrestler?
Well, I think it goes for anything, right? High school, college, right? I think you've got to be open-minded, right? The best thing that would say, you got one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. And then 2, man, enjoy every ounce of everything you do. Enjoy your losses. You know what I mean? And enjoy it, right? Because it's over way too quick. I'm using the phrase now, enjoy the process, or embrace the process, because everybody's using that. But the true thing is enjoy every little aspect. I tell all my guys this, I would love to be back on the scene competing, because I miss the camaraderie of being around the boys, traveling to Russia. I missed going to weigh-ins as a team. I miss walking to the finals of a tournament, right? But, and those are the things. I didn't stop and smell the roses. I didn't enjoy those along the way. It's like now I'm trying to enjoy all the simple things in life, sunrises and sunsets, and, so enjoy everything about the sport that you possibly can. And wins and losses and tough practices and coaches yelling at you and big wins and mom taking you out for an ice cream afterward, right? Enjoy that thing every ounce of the way.
Heck yeah. And to piggyback off of that, do you have one piece of advice for wrestling parents?
Well, I mean, I could go a lot of different directions. Wrestling parents, it's tough to be a wrestling parent. It's tough to see your son get beat or daughter get beat up and down. It's tough to see the tough practices. The thing is I would tell them this, especially young parents, make sure they understand the difference in losing weight, cutting weight, and wrestling somewhere where they are enjoying it. Because nobody at any age enjoys losing weight and cutting weight and having to compete, right? So make sure that they understand, you've got to go get better at wrestling. If you got to lose a pound or two, okay, but let's go get better at wrestling. Make sure the parents understand this too. They're not earning any scholarships when they win the Tulsa Nationals at 8 years old, right? So don't cut them down 30 pounds just to go win the Tulsa Nationals and make the kid's life miserable. Let them enjoy the sport and grow up in it. And, when they get to high school, then they can start taking it a lot more serious and make their own decisions about what weight they should go and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that answer.
Coach, is there any rule in Division I wrestling that you would change or get rid of?
It's funny you say that. I'm on the rules committee this year I just got on the rules committee. So I've got to come up with a bunch of them, little, dumb one. I don't want to say dumb. I'll get in trouble for saying that, but, headgear, getting rid of a headgear is kind of trivial right now anyway. But when you're talking about actual wrestling, there's talks, but I would like this. I get so mad the way referees are calling stalling, especially in college, the out of bounds stalling now, I don't like it all. So for me, I'm okay with, if you step out of bounds, you're going to get hit for stalling, right? No matter what, let's just make it black and white, because they're calling it anyway, right? I don't know if you know the rules in college. I'm sure you do, but if you go out of bounds now, they're making one of three calls: stalling on one guy, stalling on the other guy, right? Or they're saying there's action. Well, all those calls are being determined by what the score is and what time of the match it is. It could be the same exact scenario, but if there's 6 seconds left and that might end the match because it's a tie score, they're not calling it. But if it's the first 6 seconds of the match, they'll call it. So for me, let's just take that out of the referee's hands and make it black and white. Make it black and white. Someone steps out of bounds, that guy's getting hit for stalling. If that's the way that, right, that's so that's what I'm going to try to enforce. Make it black and white, or get rid of that rule totally.
Do you think a push out rule like in freestyle could?
So I don't know if I want a point given away, but giving them a stalling call, right? Because then if they get hit once, that's your warning, right? But then you can't stall in the middle of the mat either, or you should get hit. And then there's your point. So if you go out of bounds twice, you're gonna lose a point. You go out of bounds 3 times, you're gonna lose another point. You know what I mean? And that's so yeah, push out rule, but make them stall calls, not points, because you get it one freebie, kind of.
Yeah. Cool. One last one for me. I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this, but singlet or 2-piece?
Singlet for sure. 100%.
Coach, do you have a daily practice or a daily ritual?
Me, myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a ritual guy. You know what I mean? I that's a problem of mine. I try not to be, but I it's like I said, I got to get up and work out. That's a daily ritual, right? I mean, I got to do something, whether it's when my body starts getting tired, I need a day off. Well, then I'll get in the hot tub, sauna, steam, but I got to get up and get my body going. And I got to work out in the mornings right away. That's kind of my ritual. My other one would be I grab a cup of coffee first thing in the morning,
That would be our second question. How do you brew it? How do you take it?
Yeah. Hey, well, it's the Keurig. All right. I got a Keurig because it's just convenient and easy, and I grab it. And from the time I get up right in the morning, it's like 13 minutes. I'm out the door. You know what I mean? Brush your teeth, contacts, and a cup of coffee. The Keurig turns on by itself. I hit a button, right? A little cream, a little sweet and low, or a little stevia, right? I'm out the door and I enjoy my 12-minute ride into work. And then I get something, my workout in. But I do like my Americanos when I'm on the road, or if I stop at a coffee shop or whatever it is. I'm not on any of those latte stuff. I don't like any of that, but I'm an Americano guy, out at a coffee shop, or just a straight, K-cup, Keurig, nice cup of coffee.
Right on.
Right in our wheelhouse. We like those early morning workouts with the coffee right before. So we vibe that. Coach, what are you listening to right now, music wise? Any audio books, or you reading anything?
So I'm reading a book right now, man, about my boy Pete Ripmaster. The Long Road Home. It just came out on Amazon. And I'm also reading Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's a book by Joshua Metcalf. Our team is reading as well. So that's the book I'm reading. The music I listen to every day, right? I got a thumbprint radio station on Pandora that I've been thumbprinting for 20 years or 10 years, But I'm a big Pearl Jam guy myself. So it's filled with Pearl Jam and Mother Love Bone and, all that good stuff. I like that, the music from that time frame.
Right on.
Coach, what's Pete's last name again?
Rip Master. Spelled just to dude, he's amazing. Look him up, man. Buy that book. He won the Iditarod walking, whatever that race was.
Yep.
1,000-mile, whatever it is. And he's got unbelievable stories, but he fell into a frozen lake. And, the first time he did it, he finished last. He went the wrong way, had to survive. He is an animal in the ultra world. I mean, an animal.
He's a Wisconsin guy?
Nope. He lives in Asheville, North Carolina. Grew up in Michigan. My brother is actually the friend with him. And my brother told me for years, one day I'm gonna hook you up with this guy, Pete, and you guys are gonna change the world. He goes, I know both of you guys. And our paths finally crossed. And I mean, just the other day, he did another one of those hundreds in Chicago. And Reader and I drove down and surprised him to finish the last 10 with him. And nice. He was so fired up and he smashed it. He ran we ran the last 10 faster than he'd done the last 20.
Awesome.
Right. So he's an animal, dude. You'll love his story. You'll love everything about him. It's great.
All right. I love a good book. So I'm going to check that out when we get off of here. Have you ever done any training on the Ice Age Trail?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Check that out. It's a trail in Wisconsin. I believe it runs, I might be speaking out of turn here. I think it runs north to south. It could be east to west, but it's a pretty well-known trail that, people do FKTs, fastest known time on, and they have I think it used to be, I don't know if it still is, but I think it's a 50-miler that they have that is a qualifying race for Western states.
Oh boy. Maybe that's our next one. A little 50-miler on the Ice Age.
Yeah, it's I believe it's to the east of Madison.
Okay, I'll look it up. That sounds awesome.
Cool. And then our last question, Coach, this used to have a much lighthearted, fun kind of vibe to it. It took a little turn in March of 2020, but if ever, when you're not digging into getting ready for an ultra marathon or being super pumped up about wrestling and getting the Badgers on the top of the podium, you ever find yourself late night on a YouTube rabbit hole, maybe looking up aliens? Have you encountered Bigfoot in Wisconsin yet? Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
No, I have zero. I don't know. I've heard of one in the Denver airport. These guys talking, I walk away from it. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't know anything about any of that stuff.
Good. You're better off.
Yeah.
Coach, it's been an honor and a pleasure spending time with you tonight. Really appreciate it. It's a great conversation. And like I said, we've been fans since the early 90s when you were on those tapes, Iowa Public TV with Coach Douglas and Eric Aiken and the crew. So thanks for your time tonight. And obviously best of luck this season.
That invitation to the Badger 100 next year is open. So let me know.
All right, I will. You might see my ugly mug up there.
Hey, we'll take care of you. I can't promise I'll do all 100 with you, but I'll be out there with you and we'll take care of you.
Awesome. Thank you. Best of luck this season, Coach.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.